I wanted to share with you something which has inspired me in a number of ways ever since I first discovered it. In a recent video, Richard was talking about the artist William Blake. By many, he is considered the father of British Romanticism in painting, and a direct line can be traced from William Blake through Samuel Palmer in the 19th century to some of my favourite artists in the 20th century, artists like Graham Sutherland, John Piper, and Paul Nash, who at the end of his life in the 1940s distilled a kind of visionary romanticism into a sequence of paintings of a location in Oxfordshire called Wittenham Clumps. Back in 1990, I attended a lecture about Wittenham Clumps, thinking I would learn something more about Paul Nash. Instead, I heard about the conservation work going on to maintain the little wood on top of the clumps and its neighbour, Snowdon Hill. But one feature of the lecture stood out, and that was about a beech tree located at the edge of the wood called the Poem Tree. Now, this was a tree in which in 1844 a local chap called Joseph Tubb had gone there with a ladder and a tent and had spent 2 weeks carving a poem into the bark, in which he eulogised about the countryside around and its history. I was so overwhelmed to learn this that the following weekend I took my bike and tent to the nearest station at Wantage and cycled there to visit the poem tree. I had with me a small 8mm black and white camera and filmed this. 3 years later I returned with a video camera and found that the tree was pretty much dead, but standing. To commemorate the 150th anniversary of the poem, a small monument had been erected on the edge of the wood. It contained a facsimile of the poem from a rubbing made in the 1960s, taken by a certain Dr Ormaston. If it were not for him, we would probably have no idea of the poem or of Joseph Tubb. Naturally, I took a rubbing of the plug myself, but I can find no evidence that Paul Nash was ever aware of the poem tree, for surely he must have walked around the clumps and explored them. He certainly sketched them from an early age. For me, finding this has been an inspiration not just for paintings, but for prints, poems, even for my curtains, and music from then until now. It's a theme that I return to repeatedly. This is such a wonderful and eccentric piece of Englishness that we should somehow keep the memory alive, and hopefully it will provide inspiration to other people. The tree might no longer be standing, but the monument is there, with the plug and the views which inspired Joseph Tubb. It's well worth a visit.